All right.
All right, welcome to Geeks Talking Geek. I'm Bandito Bane, and with me I have Reverend Sully and
Hello,
his sidekick.
my executive producer, a Pikachu.
All right, and if you're not watching us live, you could catch us on the rerun. But right now we will be talking geeks. We will be basically talking geek hobbies, everything from
Geeks?
everything from
Talking
comic
geek? Wow.
yeah, everything from comic books to tabletop and everything in between. So right now, like before we start, like I want to go on a little rant.
Do it!
Yeah, because a lot of I know. Have you heard about the adpocalypse going on
No.
Twitch?
What I've heard, is that like, were there four horsemen?
Yeah,
Is
pretty
one of them
much.
called Famine?
No,
Pestilence?
no, pretty much one of them's called Hassan Piker.
Ooh.
I mean, this is, and another one's called Frogan, but this this really rubs me the wrong way because right now Twitch has ads.
What is Twitch? Is it just a platform to broadcast your live video gameplay?
It's basically a broadcast platform where you can basically to say everything. Like there is video people who play video games like Maximilian Dude and the Yo Video Game Crew. There's
Okay.
there's another artist who I watch, and she does these incredible fantasy like animal. She draws these incredibly fantasy like animals off the top of her head. And
Okay.
there's also like Ryu who reacts to watching anime that's what she's watching. And then there's like a person like the stocks guy who basically talks about stocks all day.
Okay, so
But
it's not just strictly gaming. Is there
yeah,
a strictly gaming platform that I'm confusing this with?
no, it started off as a gaming platform. You
It
had
did.
yeah,
Okay.
you had Ninja there, you had Dr. Disrespect,
That's
you had
okay. Yeah. Because like these are the esports celebrities that they've come up in the past decade or so.
yeah, but recently, like the highest grossing Twitch streamer is Hassan Piker,
Mm.
and this guy he sees everything. He sees everything that is not like Stalin, like anything right of Stalinism as a Nazism. This guy, he's that bad of a far leftist. He right now like with all the garbage he's been spouting out, advertisers are basically pulling out of
Okay.
Twitch, and it's been going and a lot of people are basically losing money. And Hassan's like, "What? It's not my fault." And I just hate the guy. He
But he's just one content creator in a
yeah,
multitude
but there's
of different.
also there are other people who are like him, and they're basically spouting out the same garbage like Frogan. This one woman who says that soldiers deserve PTSD, who deserve PTSD, and hope they don't get health insurance because they don't because they're unless they think like she does, which is basically America is an imperialist country, and it just pisses me off because my brother has PTSD.
Okay, I do too. I was diagnosed with PTSD by a medical doctor in December of 2020 after a traumatic event at work. My best friend dropped dead of a heart attack during work. We're putting out lunch, the son of a bitch. And I held his hand, and you know what I mean. I didn't leave his side, but he didn't make it. But after that, I mean, I started getting crippling anxiety and panic attacks, and it just really had the most profound impact on my life, and I needed to do something about it. And so, if anyone out there listening to the show right now, if you are suffering, seriously, you do have outreach out there, and you please use it. Talk to your doctor, get a referral inside of your system. That means, and that's a key part there, because I got kicked out from a doctor because I'm sorry, I'm not in your system. I can't see you anymore because it's like I'm not covered in your insurance. And that was just like, that was so hard. But that's modern medicine, though. But it's more of, if you are suffering from PTSD, get diagnosed. You might just be like stressed out, and not everything is PTSD.
Yeah, and this is the thing that she is like, when she's blaming soldiers and Americans for everything bad, when like those soldiers are fighting for her right to sit on her fat ass on a gamer chair, stuff her fat face, while she complains how she complains everything is America's fault.
Here's the flip for this. Have you ever seen the 1981 movie First Blood with Sylvester Stallone and Brian Dennehy?
That's one of my favorite movies.
Could you remember, like, when John was describing when he got home from Vietnam 10 years before that, and being called baby killer and having stuff thrown at him? He like got home, and it's just like, they're supposed to be heroes. They just endured this huge, life-changing and traumatic experience of killing and seeing their loved ones being killed, and even civilians, and this whole thing, and it's being spat on as soon as they get home and called baby killers. And that was a huge part of it in the treatment of veterans. I mean, that's something about First Blood that I think it's a really interesting theme, because all of its sequels, those were just shoot 'em up action movies. But the first Rambo movie has a message to unpeel. And it's about, and then for the 40 years since that movie came out, I mean, how far have we come treating our veterans? There's been some improving, but not much.
Yeah, and that's why I was pissed off with her. And they didn't ban her for that.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason they banned her because they actually just went. She actually went on a rant on a panel with 4 other content creators, and they did a tier list on certain streamers, and they were basically having like like at the top of the tier list was Persian, and at the bottom of the tier list was Love Sabra, and every streamer at the bottom tier list were Jewish, and that's basically racism
by design.
Yeah, basically by design.
Okay, so that's,
and it pisses me off, because those content creators will get a slap on the wrist, but other content creators who do less end up getting banned for life. And I think this has to change, because if not, and because it's not only affecting the people who are working there, it's also affecting the streamers who don't even talk about politics.
And here's a good spin for you too. I bet you're the top 1%. Like, there's something called the Pareto principle, where it's like 10% of the population does 90% of the work in a way, and gets the compensation for that as well. So there's like, and it goes, and as if there's a pattern, and not just in society, but in nature as well, like this natural hierarchy. It's so interesting. Check it out. It's called the Pareto principle, named after Mr. Pareto, Prado. And it's so interesting. But I wonder if, like, Twitch, of course, has its own Pareto principle working for it. These top generating content creators, they must be making a windfall of money in this short time. But let me tell you, like, I'm closer to a normie on this subject than you are. I don't care about Twitch. I barely heard of Twitch. These Twitch celebrities don't have any valence or impact with me. I mean, And there are more people like me, and I'm like you. I'm a geek, and we're geeks talking geek. But it's more of like, hey, I'm an older geek, and I just don't. I don't grok Twitch.
Yeah.
And I know it's out there, and and I respect it. And I've heard all of this. This is the same place that had language restrictions, right?
Yeah.
Chat rooms.
I mean, this is the thing. This is the thing. I mean,
and they suffer from being too lefty.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, and it's like, it's wow. And hey, Jesus.
I mean, it's I blame like I said, I blame Hassan for all this because like he was the guy who interviewed a terrorist. He was the guy who called this one Persian terrorist the version of Anne Frank, and and he also put in terrorist propaganda, and he didn't get banned not once for any of it.
And is he a journalist? Does he have credentials, or he's just a vlogger?
He's a vlogger. Okay.
Okay.
This guy basically goes around, and I don't know if you heard of the October 7th attack in Israel.
Yes.
He says it denied it happened. He's like Alex Jones saying the Sandy Hook massacre didn't happen.
You know what? I have friends in Connecticut too, and they know who I follow on Twitter and YouTube, and I don't follow Alex Jones, but it's kind of like people that we share and know out there. They're fucking gaga over Alex Jones, and I'm like, I can't stand the fucking guy. And Sandy Hook was real. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And I know that like Jones got some kind of big, red pill following kind of shit, especially with our side of the YouTube sphere, but not with me. And I think it might have had some negative impact IRL.
Yeah.
With my real life left leaning friends. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah.
All right, but. Well, Thus Rants was very inspirational for me. It's like because I wanted to get it off my chest. But this actually will lead up to our first topic.
Drum roll.
Mark Waid blames the election results if his work begins to suffer.
What a jerk!
I mean, so Mark Waid is now the writer for Justice League All In.
Justice League Unlimited, Batman and Robin Year One, with incredible art by Chris Samney. He's still doing Superman Batman World's Finest. And he's also doing the weekly of Action Comics right now. So that's like he's all over the new releases right now.
And this guy and DC put their neck out for him because this guy was blacklisted from DC, wasn't he?
Yeah, for being a jerk.
Yeah.
For doing exactly what he was doing now.
And so right now, let's see. Let's pull up this.
Pull it up. Slancha, happy Friday. Cervezas para mi boquita. Ay, bonito. Salud.
All right. This is one of the things that he said on Twitter or Blue Sky or wherever he is.
Can you blow that up just
he says
for us old people?
Yeah, hang on.
You click on the image and you hit Alt and then the plus button.
Okay.
You have to hold down Alt and hit the plus button at the same time. Do you know your keystroke shortcuts? No. See, that's one of the.
No, not really.
I'm worried about that with literacy. Who cares if children can't, don't have penmanship? They are losing touch with their keystroke, commands.
All right.
One time we didn't have a mouse. It was in my work computer, but guess what? There was a copy of Doom on this old computer, and I figured out how to play Doom through the keystroke commands because we didn't have a mouse. Doom.
All right, let me. I was able to pull up the image in another tab. Let me.
The words of Mr. Mark
Let me get
Waid
it.
from Bluesky. Is it from Bluesky? Is he's not on the Twitters no more?
Yeah, it's from.
I call it Bluesky.
I guess not. I guess not, because this guy. A lot of people are leaving Twitter.
I literally have lost 70 or 80 people off my Twitter account in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous.
That's fine.
All right,
but
this
like,
is
ridiculous. But
this
Mark Waid, what does Mark Waid say? What does this dickless wonder want?
All right. He says, I generally don't know how to go on. I don't believe in anything I write anymore. Probably never will. Maybe time to sell everything I own and retire in California, where I'll be my best chance being safe. And this guy, I mean, this guy is just. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. Like, if Kenzo, it's like he's being over dramatic right now.
He is an artist.
I mean, Kenzo's an artist, and Kenzo's an artist, and he's right now he's has bad people. Bad people got voted in his parliament, and and the rest of the country's paying for it. And he's okay. He's okay with it. Just put your head down and try to survive this.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, we're just normal guys. We can't do anything. I mean, this is why I hate politics. It gets in the way with like having a functional life.
And speaking of working, huge shout out to our friend James the Ginger Ninja Harris, who is on the job right now at Tokyo Comic Con. Konnichiwa.
Yeah.
Ginger-san. Hi, not the desk.
James, if you're hearing this, don't burn yourself out with all the work you're gonna get. Take a few days if you're gonna feel like you're gonna burn yourself out. Take a few days off and maybe come on stream with us
and chill out and blow off some steam.
Yeah. So
and have fun.
Yeah. And this is okay. So right now, Mark, this is going to be really, really, really critical especially for people who are big fans of the work that he's doing right now. He's been doing.
Let me tell you one. When I came back to comics recently in the past 3 years, basically within the past 2 years, I started getting invited on Wes's Thinking Critical. I don't know how that happened. Like, I think Wes started watching my shows. It came up on his radar, and because I wasn't even buying comics then, and he was like, I was like, and who are you, Sully? He's like, I'm the lapsed reader, and that's how I, presented myself. They got me reading Jeremy Adams' The Flash, and that got me reading other things, and especially everyone was suggesting Batman Superman's World's Finest by Mark Waid and art by Dan Mora, because it was like, finally they're listening to us. They're putting the best writers with the best artists and creating like really entertaining stories that don't betray character voices, and that are, the kind of stories that we want to pay for, and I was at the point where, who's gonna lead the ship? Who's gonna, right the ship? Who has the editorial vision, the sense of being the shepherd, who can corral young writers and to be like, hey, this is what continuity is. These are what these characters are capable of, and this is how they interact. I wanted Mark Waid to be the editor-in-chief of DC Comics, just because he knows his fucking shit. He could deserve it by now. He was the editor-in-chief at Boom Comics almost 20 years ago. That failed. We learned from our failures. and he's come back to DC Comics after a blacklist. He was blacklisted on DC Comics, and he's getting to write Superman. Somebody that he was said, you will never write Superman, Mark Waid. And, now he's getting his dream come true. Yet, then there's the other side of him, which is abhorrent. And why would you want to support somebody that literally toxic? Shit, like Aaron Sparrow worked at Boom Comics. He has told me a thing or two about Mark Waid's behavior. It's all in public record too, and he's done a few videos. But I'm just like, I thought he outgrew this stuff. He obviously hasn't, and that's just like it was on, that and that's that. But I'm just like, I had a lot of faith in him because of his writing, especially on World's Finest was so fun.
Yeah.
And it was so well hewn, and the character voices and the aesthetic of it too, because Mora only has so much say in the design. This is like, set in a kind of 4 to 5 years before everything's happening in continuity. So it's not a year one. It's more like a year 5 or something. But it's really cool. And I'm so disappointed in him because of all of this. And we haven't even mentioned the whole, you missed him Blue Sky tweet that he made, back in July. Geez. I can't write comic book superheroes anymore. I mean, for that sheer fact,
I got it right here.
I think that, you know what? If I'm the owner, I can't trust my properties with you, Mark. You're gonna fail. I need someone who didn't just give up online in front of everyone. I know you're full of hyperbole, but you know what? I don't need you ruining my product or my brand with your sheer fussiness. And and then in the face of the voting map.
So this is it.
There we go.
He's
Can you read it?
Even if by some miracle this turns around, I don't believe in basic goodness of my fellow Americans anymore.
Fuck you.
Without this, I cannot write superheroes. There's no point. When you see the decline of quality on my work soon, you'll be able to trace it. You'll be able to trace it back to this night, and that this is just him throwing a hissy fit.
This is him tampering with the integrity of the DC product.
Yeah, and one of the things I know is that basically working with my dad, we install garage doors. We cannot let the integrity of our work fall because the candidate we didn't vote for didn't win.
Right.
And because it's going to affect our sales, and this is what's going to
happen. I'm going to install shittier. I'm going to do shittier handiwork because I didn't get my way.
Yeah.
That doesn't work in the real world.
I mean, the first time Trump got elected, what a lot of people did? They ended up going to Fire Festival. And by hindsight, that might have been a bad idea, but they wanted to forget everything that was going on in the world for at least some days. That's why people like us, geeks, we like jumping in head first into things like comic books, video games, movies, anime, everything that will make us forget about the world, at least
escapism. Yeah.
And Mark Waid is just being a big child and throwing a temper tantrum.
He's being consistent, though. I'll tell you this much, especially with this. There is a ton of anecdotal stories over the past 30 years of Mark Waid's behavior. At the office, at conventions, as a writer, as an editor. Just it's out there.
Yeah. I mean, while it's going to affect it'll like if his writing does go downhill, it's going to start affecting sales on DC, and it will may even end up ending some of the books that DC put a lot of interest in.
Hmm. Well, I mean, like I said, like it just sounds like it's hey, if you see a decline in my quality, then here's why. And it's like, is that a threat? I mean, like, what leverage do you have to you're I get it that you're heartbroken, and I get it that you're a lefty, and
Yeah.
but what else am I supposed to do with that? All I
Yeah.
want to do is buy
Yeah.
quality Mark Waid stories, because usually Mark Waid is a fucking brilliant superhero storyteller. He took my favorite Flash story is a Mark Waid story. It's called Dead Heat. It was Savitar. You know what I mean? It's 4 issues of Flash, 2 issues of Impulse, in the mid to late '90s. It was just amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't even know his Avengers stuff. I'm ignorant about his Marvel stuff, or even the Boom stuff.
Yeah, like one of my favorite Mark Waid stories is Kingdom Come.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, I mean,
and the Kingdom. I love the Kingdom.
You can't deny how good those stories were, but
right. But one thing I liked about the Kingdom was because he was in cahoots with Grant Morrison, they were trying to invent hyper time as some kind of sidestepping the crisis era of making one universe, but also giving us what we really want: some robust multiverse heroes, reinterpretations, and new iterations.
And like the you can't let like anything outside your wheelhouse, like anything like outside your control, affect the work that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't.
Like, I never read Irredeemable. Did you?
I have read some issues. I mean, one of the last things was that the only way that this was like bad Superman before Homelander or Omni-Man.
Right, the Plutonian.
Yeah,
that was his name? Okay.
Yeah, the plutonium, and one of the things that I loved about they said that he ends up, like, spoiler alert, he ends up dying at the end in order to save the world.
Dude, the spoilers at the end of fucking the Boys comics will blow your mind. Everybody dies.
Yeah,
badly.
Everybody except for Huey and Laura.
Well, Billy Butcher just turns on everyone.
Yeah,
and that's the worst part, though.
Yeah,
we like this guy this entire fucking, and then all of a sudden, boom, we get this heel turn.
Yeah, and so we got Mark Waid, plutonium destroy goes so fast to save the world, he destroys his body, and like the Doctor Strange type of guy who was there actually says he'll find redemption in other worlds. So his soul splits apart, and like Superman versions in different timelines and universes end up showing up, and one of them was actually showed up in the imagination of Schuster and Schuster and Simon.
Well, that's interesting.
They end up using that inspiration to create Superman.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever read Empire? With Barry Kitson. It was I think it was a 12-issue maxi series about when the bad guy wins.
No.
And it had a second series as well. More Mark Waid goodness. I mean, geez, especially with Barry Kitson artwork, they did JLA Year One together. With the Black Canary.
Yeah, I Yeah, I like JLA Year One because it had like six different heroes that you wouldn't expect to work together. You had Black Canary, the Flash.
Right. And because of the new because of the post-crisis continuity, you couldn't have the Trinity involved.
Yeah.
And so it was Flash, Green Lantern,
Martian
Black
Manhunter, and
Green Arrow.
Green Arrow joined after.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, Black Canary, the Flash, Aquaman, and God,
it was Aquaman too.
Yeah, I forgot the sixth one, but they tried inviting Superman in, but he said no.
Right.
And so, this was like pretty groundbreaking stuff that he did, but I don't want this to end up impacting his work, because not only will he end up making mistakes, but DC will be like, why did we even hire this guy back in?
Well, I mean, why would you want to keep on with someone who just said, I'm going to be fucking up every omelet I cook from now on as a sign of just like my dissatisfaction, because I have to guess that half of my guests are mind criminals. So I have to oh gosh, why? What are you getting out of this? Qui bono? Who benefits?
Yeah. So
fuck you, Mark Waid. Sorry.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Richard Meyer or Ethan Van Sciver.
So speaking of what's next for Superman? Next year will be
dun, 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 dun,
next.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun. I thought you could use some music.
Yeah. So this is a rumor with the new Superman coming out like next year. Next year DC wants to reboot the series of Superman and Batman.
Sure.
So they'll be getting new writers. Like Joshua Williamson.
About time.
Yeah, Joshua Williamson's going to be leaving for DC.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to end up going, and he's going to focus mainly on the Energon universe and Skybound.
Good for him.
And
it's a good gig. It's paying well. I mean, they get so many subsequent printings. Like fucking Transformers 1 has gone into 10 printings, and there were like 10 different variant covers of that 10th printing.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, and plus, like G.I. Joe #1 was pretty good too. I mean,
I got 2 copies. What about you?
I just got one, and I
got a Baroness because I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, when I read G.I. Joe 1, I was like, wait a second, did they actually kill Rock and Roll in the first issue?
You spoilers! I don't think he might not be dead. He never.
Yeah, and I'm like, didn't Larry Hama wait until like issue 75 to kill Rock and Roll?
Did he kill Rock and Roll?
Yeah, he did.
He killed Quick Kick. He killed Doc. It was. I remember that. That was pretty heavy.
Yeah,
I love Doc and Quick Kick.
Yeah, he killed Quick Kick,
Tunnel
Doc.
Rat.
No, he killed Quick Kick, Doc, and Rock and Roll.
Oh yeah. So Cobra Commander said to take care of him, and the Saw Viper did. Wow.
So it was like, but this is like one thing that there's a rumor that Dan Slott is going to be leaving Marvel, going to DC so he could write Superman. And like one of the things that I'm worried about if Dan Slott does end up writing Superman is he can't write a meaningful relationship to save his life between superheroes. Like, here's the examples. He made She-Hulk, Sarah Jessica Parker's character in Sex and the City.
Right.
He made Spider-Man I mean, the only meaningful relationship she had was with Man Wolf, but it turned out that awesome android was copying Firefox's powers, and she was just in love with him because awesome android was giving off pheromones that she loved him, and then like he took over Spider-Man after one more day, but Spider-Man kept on having girlfriend after girlfriend after girlfriend after girlfriend. And
I didn't read his Fantastic Four. Did you?
He did do Fantastic Four. Johnny was basically a man whore. Thing and Alicia were basically distant. And Sue and Reed were basically on the verge of arguments all the time that it looked like they were going to have a divorce. So it was basically a Jerry Springer episode. And
no, I didn't mind his ASM work 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the whole heel turn of Otto taking over Peter's body. I love the design of the Superior Spider-Man's costume. And I like the whole, like, Otto struggling with becoming Peter. And you know what I mean? And because a lot of this has to do with just like shit, we've had so many Spider-Man stories, so many Batman stories, so many Superman stories. What do you do with this character? How do we challenge this character? But also by the end of the story, it's like unless you're Tom King, you should just return the action figures back to the toy box relatively unharmed and undamaged.
Yeah. Unless you're Tom King
for the
or
next
Zeb Wells.
Unless you're Tom King. I mean,
or Zeb Wells.
Well, because of Paul?
Because of Paul, because of let's see, Paul, Green Goblin.
By reforming Green Goblin?
Well, no, not that. He's like, oh, Green Goblin's gone forever. Goodbye. And Paul. I mean, the Paul and MJ, Peter and MJ relationship is pretty much unsalvageable, or like it'll take a Herculean task to do that.
It's weird. I just think like she's 3 years older than him now. She's had a taste of motherhood with those imaginary children. I mean, I think she might have like once she gets over this like superhero persona of being Jackpot. I literally think that like she'd want to be a Long Island mom.
Yeah, but
does that make sense?
Yeah, but this is the thing. She in Venom War, she did show that she wanted a life with Peter.
Right, but
it's like, oh, Paul, you can't have that life. It's because you chose Paul over Peter.
And speaking of, did you read Venom War 5 this week?
No, yes, I did. I mean,
you did. Can you explain what the fuck happened in that? I read the whole thing.
Yeah,
maybe 1.5 times. I have
basically it's like continuity with Venom with the Venom comic.
Okay, so because Eddie gets stabbed by Dylan.
Yeah,
and he's like nursing some kind of sucking mortal wound. So he binds with Venom one last time.
Yeah, but it's not just this Venom; it's the Venom from the future.
It's Meridius's Venom, or
no? It's Venom from the future because like there's like a Days of Future Past. There was a Day of Future Past in the Venom comic timeline,
okay,
where Dylan was basically old man Venom and trying to save the future, so he goes back.
So the Venom that was on old man Dylan separated from Dylan.
Yeah.
And went to Eddie.
Yeah, and merged with Eddie, became that one. And you know why it has gold? It's because it had Loki ended up giving Venom an upgrade with Uru.
Oh, so that's what that scene was in Venom 34 last week. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been reading a bunch of Venom War, and I'm not even a Venom fan, but there's some of them like Venom Lethal Protectors 3 of 3 was pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this whole Silver Sable thing versus Dominic Fortune, that's like old school, and
Yeah.
I liked that. That was melodramatic,
Yeah.
and it was entertaining. I was satisfied with that.
Yeah. So like I was actually satisfied with the end of the Amazing Spider-Man Venom, Venom War Amazing Spider-Man, because it was like
he's looking at his mask and he's mad.
Yeah, because it actually shows that MJ, not only does he still have feelings for MJ, but MJ still has feelings for him.
But she's like an ex-wife. I will always love you, but now I'm with him, and now this is our life. And if you want to be part of our life, you have to accept me and him and this, or you can just go do your own thing.
Yeah,
that's ex-wife logic.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's like they introduce like villains. They're introducing villains that might be the key to bringing them back together. Like you have, like, most likely it'll probably be Venom, who already did it, who already put the ball in motion. What's his name? Oh, Norman Osborn, because he says that they belong together, and also Ben Reilly. But going back to, like, I saw you guys talking about what we were talking about earlier. Going back to it,
what the artwork of Eighth Deaths, or
no, going back to like what we were talking about earlier of who's going to be the writer for
Spider-Man.
The writers for Batman and Superman, and I said if and I'm like worried because if Dan Slott takes over for Superman, he's got to have to do with the most popular superhero couple there is out there, with Superman and Lois Lane.
What I heard on the show today was the two names that they brought up besides Dan Slott, because that's obvious, and what his what Slott's going to do and for how long and on which title, nobody knows. But the other two names that are being bandied about right now are Philip Kennedy Johnson and Dan Waters. And that's I got that from Jim and Wes this morning on the show. And people were like, Dan Waters, what has he done? And I was like, no, you know me. I'm like, well, he got an extra base hit on Destro on that mini. And people were like, okay, you got me there. He did that.
Yeah, so he did do Destro, and
yeah, that was okay, man. I was entertained.
It was. I mean, the final fight with Tomax and Matt
Zaymot, yeah.
Zaymot, yeah. I mean, the thing was that he could have killed him, but he wanted to let them know that he held power over them. So he's like, now get out of my house.
It's great because Cobra. Okay, I only know this because I'm a history buff, and I've read this book called The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William Shirer 4 times in the past 30 years, and this is a fact of history. Hitler kept his generals and his people closest to him. He kept them infighting. He kept them at each other's throats just so they wouldn't gang up on him and usurp him. He never feared, or he had very little fear of being, like, stabbed in the back by a coup by his closest, because that's what Cobra Commander does between Destro and someone like Tomax and Zaymot, who, like, they are a competitor of arms. They're not. I never saw them as arms dealers. Traditionally, they were the Crimson Guard leaders.
Yeah,
but they're the ones. They have a private military,
and they were the ones they were the ones that had a legitimate business too.
Right. So you had these guys with these two Brazilian brothers with a private military, which is straight out of fucking like everything else these days too. I mean, and then you had Mars, which is military applied research systems, or is it McCulloch? You know what I mean? Depends, which one you're, it depends on how well you know it. And but he doesn't have an army. He's not he's just an arms manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. I really enjoyed the hell out of that.
Yeah. So, like, if it was going to be Dan Slott, I would see him doing more Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But if he does Superman, I don't see him doing well with it, because like I said, he can't write a meaningful relationship to save his life, and they want him to take over Superman, where they have where one of the main character where it's like the most popular superhero couple there since Superman and Lois Lane.
Yeah, and I need a minute. I need a timeout. I'll be right back.
Yeah, me too. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay. While we're waiting for Sully, like Dan Waters, thinking that Dan Waters might take the reins of Superman would probably be a good idea for me, because I did enjoy the Destro comic, and with I don't think anybody's going to replace Joshua Williamson. Oh, we just lost Sully. What happened? Please don't tell me that everything's. I lost my internet. No. Okay, 1 sec. Oh, there we go. What happened? Yeah, what happened?
Well, I went to the bathroom, and then my, I guess the inactivity with the iPhone, it shut down.
Okay. So, I was just saying how I would enjoy seeing a Superman story done by Dan Waters, but who was the other person you brought up?
Philip Kennedy Johnson, but he just did 18 issues or so on Action Comics, and that's why he brought Clark to War World.
Oh yeah, that was a good series.
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah. When everybody, and it really made me mad that everybody was talking about Tom Taylor's big review, big coming out of John Kent, and is like, but what about Action Comics? What about Superman? It's a great series, right? It's a great story right now. Why aren't you capitalizing on it? But it's like, do you want? I mean, the people you're trying to get is are trying to get right now won't put down their money for a comic book. I'll just buy that one comic book.
$4.99 for that. There's no backup story. It's decent. I mean, we got that's issue 20 of Superman new this week. Right here.
Yeah.
All in. It's legacy number 863.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how they got that number. Is it just Superman, or
Most like
Adventures of Superman?
Probably just Superman. But like, I wouldn't mind seeing like Philip Kennedy Johnson or Dan Waters taking over Superman.
Action went weekly for a year or two,
Mm-hmm.
and it was bi-weekly in the late 80s.
Yeah,
that's true. The ASM suffers from that too. A really inflated issue count number because it went like three times a month one time.
Yeah, that was like when Dan Slott had to get Joe Kelly to help him out on that one.
But I don't know. I mean, like Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing Batman and Robin right now.
Yeah,
he took over from Joshua Williamson. I'm not reading it. I should be because I like Philip Kennedy Johnson. I am reading his Incredible Hulk.
Oh,
and I'm loving it. I've never been a Hulk reader.
Yeah,
and I'm really loving. There's this simple, satisfying story that Philip Kennedy Johnson is laying down. He's like he's a peer of mine. He's probably 5 to 7 years younger than me. You know what I mean? But it's like the flavor of it. It's very much like the old TV show with Bill Bixby. He's just Bruce Banner. He's alone. He's walking the road, and he's just trying to help himself and stay out of trouble. But on the way, he always gets into trouble and helps people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much like that, and it's got a good underlying story too.
Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun.
Of like monsters and the eldest, and it's just really good. And like Philip Kennedy Johnson introduced a newer iteration of a character called Ghost Rider 44, a World War II version of Ghost Rider on a military motorcycle with the helmet, and he's bringing that character back. He's doing Phil Kennedy Johnson will be doing a Marvel comic that's based in World War II.
Oh, the Hell Riders.
Hell Riders, that's what it's called?
Yeah, I think so. It's like it's gonna have like Bucky Barnes
and Cap and Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos
and Wolverine.
Yeah, Logan. No, he's not Wolverine yet. He's
Logan.
He's James Howlett. He's gotta be like probably Sergeant Howlett of the Canadian Special Forces or something. Yeah,
Union. Yeah, the original Union Jack.
Yeah, shit like that. Maybe even like the original Human Torch. Maybe Namor will show up. Like the old, wouldn't that be cool? And I love World War II comics. I grew up with GI Combat, The Unknown Soldier, Sergeant Rock, Sergeant Fury. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah,
and Philip Kennedy Johnson, he's got it going on.
Yeah,
and
so
he is active. He's active Army. I mean,
really?
He's writing books like this. That's like his second career, but he's like active Army, and he literally he's part of the U.S. Army band.
Really?
Yeah, he ships out and everything. Yeah, he's. Thank you for your service.
So
seriously.
Yeah, so like out of those three, I'd say like I would want like Dan Slott to do the Batman, and if Philip Kennedy Johnson has a full plate, I don't see him doing anything. So I'd have like Dan Waters do Superman.
I want to say something nice about Slott, and I will. Overall, I'm enjoying Spider-Boy. It's cogent.
You're breaking up.
Really?
You were
Hello?
break,
Hello?
yeah, you were breaking up. Yeah, I got you. You're back.
Okay.
Okay, so overall, what?
I thought it was you. Maybe you were just phasing out because I was saying something nice about Slott,
Okay,
and you
so
just couldn't
what
deal
was
with it psychologically.
Yeah.
I'm messing, man. But
All
Spider
right.
Boy, have you been reading Spider Boy?
Yeah, it's a good series.
It's
Like,
decent, yeah.
yeah.
It's cogent. It's kind of fun. I like the design of things, like especially the menagerie of his bad guys. You know, the high evolutionary thing that was going
hmm
on, that B story, and I
Now
don't know.
and now that he know his mom, he's with his mom. He's basically like one of those teenage superheroes that will get grounded. Will get grounded because he can't do his homework.
You know, I was kind of worried about this character because okay, a big part of Spider-Man's thing is with great power becomes great responsibility. Now
hmm
here you have a 10-year-old child who is homeless and who's literally kind of unloved. He's got no parents. He's an orphan because nobody remembers him. You know
hmm
what I mean? And he's faced with this huge. So his Maslow's hierarchy of needs are not being met, but yet he's not using his superpowers to get by. He could have been swayed to use his superpowers to better his life, and he never did. And he's tempted. He was always saying to himself, like
Yeah,
I could, I should, but he doesn't, and that's
yeah,
what kind of makes him a hero.
yeah,
That's a really admirable quality, to be faced with temptation, because he could easily cope better. He could have a better, he sleeps in a bunk in an orphanage.
yeah,
He could be doing a lot better using his superpowers, but only supervillains do that.
yeah.
You know?
Okay. All right. So, like, let's move to the next subject.
Okay.
New era of ASM begins, but will it lead to Peter Parker's death? I mean, there's a rumor that they're going to kill off Peter Parker for like a
I
year.
never heard that. I thought I was in the rumor mill.
Yeah, it's just this new rumor that's coming out after like the new solicitations for Spider-Man came out. For
Like that would be an interesting thing, because it's about, you have 8 reads, you have like 8 power-ups. If you want to look at it like a game, you have eight 1-ups, and so by the end of it, they're gonna do that. They're gonna kill him once again, and he's like, "Oh no, we don't have another read to bring him back."
Yeah.
So maybe we have to have a world without Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it's I don't think it's a good idea because it's going to tank sales. I mean, one of the things that it's not like I think if they're really trying to do like a world without Superman, then it is. I think they're doing it the wrong way, because like.
Do you? Okay, here's a question. I'm a Spider-Man fan like you are, but
Mhm.
you're a lot deeper than I am. I admit it, but I'm a lifelong. But that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? There's a balance there.
Yeah.
Do you think that Miles Morales could carry Amazing Spider-Man as a title?
No, I don't think, because he has his own. He has his own.
I read it.
Yeah, he has his own like. Yeah, he has his own.
I get shit for that too. I was saying that last week on Comics Aficionados. Like, oh, by the way, Cody Ziegler's Miles Morales is okay with me, and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Dude, what are you like? Are you reading it?" They're like, I'm reading it.
It is a good. It is a good book. I'll give it that, because I don't.
Yeah.
I don't like Cody Ziegler when he gets political or anything, but when he starts telling stories, like, he puts the politics in the back seat. So it's
it's been a more Spider-Man-y kind of book than Zeb Wells is.
Yeah,
I mean, and the Joe Kelly stuff, I like the one-liners. I like a funny Peter.
Yeah, but the Colin Kelly, like with Colin Kelly taking, or Colin Kelly doing
in Jackson
Venom War.
Landing. Yeah.
No, with Colin Kelly doing Venom War, he gave us a better ending than Zeb Wells did in his run, and I see Colin Kelly as a subpar writer, and it's just like because like with Colin Kelly's ending, it gives us hope. It gives us meaning that maybe one day, not today, but one day they'll be back together. But with Zeb Wells, it's like, this is the status quo. Deal with it, babies.
I think that's Nick Lowe's thing.
Yeah,
it's gotta be.
Nick Lowe has I swear, Nick Lowe probably. I think that Paul is Nick Lowe's self-insert, because
you never. Paul. At least one thing I'm going to say about Paul, though, is like you have something hiding in plain sight. You have a potential big bad.
Yeah,
he can have a heel turn over anything, maybe even over MJ.
Yeah, and he has like, one of the things is like, he's like a Gary Stu. He's reliable. He's rich. He's caring. He's like everything that Peter Parker isn't. But it's like, fuck.
Well, from his world, but how, like, he's like, I just think it's going to be something simple. Like, he's like a perfect host for the Rabin kind of that maleficent energy. Am I saying that right?
Like one of the things that someone brought up in the Spider-Man web, in the on the web, it's like, what if Paul learned to take him back, to learn how to take him and MJ back to their world, but he just didn't tell her because he didn't want to be lonely. And she finds out. Like, she spent 4 years with
4
him.
years.
And he didn't want to be lonely, so he just kept her there.
Right. And invented the kids. You know what I mean? Something like that.
And this is the thing that
how much Rabin is in Paul Rabin, and how much Rabin is in the father.
Yeah, you know and this is the thing. Rabin said that her being with Paul was to set him up for the ceremony. Was to set her up for the ceremony, so she could kill it. So he could kill her in front of Peter.
And I just want to say that on that, I got no fucking problem with Spider ASM's 26 and Kamala Khan and Ms. Marvel doing that.
Yeah.
That was a heroic death. She pretended to be MJ, and she was the bait, and she got, you know what I mean? And it was a magical sword. She was, if that wasn't a magical sword, she could probably just like bloop right through it. You know what I mean? Just like no harm, no foul.
Yeah,
but it's like,
I think like
that was a hero's death, dude. That really was.
I think like with Chasm, like that's gonna tie in with Chasm because it has like an evil MJ and an evil Spider-Man. They're gonna end up going up against each other.
Oh, I think that that Ben makes Eve put on an MJ mask at night.
And
no, think about it, man.
I think like they're going to kidnap Peter. Like, they're going to kidnap Peter and they're like, do you want him to die, or are you going to let him die so you could save, so you could be with Paul? It's your chance to be without him. It's your only chance to be with Paul. Let him die. And she actually shows up showing that she still loves Peter. And she just like starts questioning, does she want to be with Paul even though she'll risk her life to save Peter?
I like Felicia, that line and this week's ASM 62. I'm single again. And then Peter's like, well, have you tried a dating app? And he's just like dense. And I just like,
and it's
or
like,
is he being dense and he just wants to sidestep? I don't know. I handle Felicia right now.
Yeah, it's just
I'm
like,
seeing Shay. He's seeing Shay actually.
Yeah, I know that. The only thing I know about her is she's a nurse and she likes vintage vinyls. That's it. And she's like a blank slate of a character. She might as well be called Comic Book Extra 357.
Cool.
and it's just that's what. And a lot of people are like, Peter's macking on this girl, and I'm like,
he's got to try to date at least, his friend set him up, right? That's nice.
But it's just so this is just so dumb. I mean, she's such a blank slate of a character that you could just
I wanted to see him with Michelle, the Asian lawyer.
Yeah, but it's like but she's like they didn't get along. They didn't get along. They hated each other.
They had some kind of, but that's got chemistry.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. There's some kind of blandness going on with Shay. But with Michelle, there's a little bit of like bubbles.
Yeah, but like I'm still hoping that they end up getting back together. Him and MJ.
Eventually, yes. I mean,
yeah, and like if it's their idea to hold off on them getting back together on a permanent basis until like ASM 1000, then yeah, that's a great idea. But if they're just holding it off,
that's around the corner too.
That's if they're holding it off out of spite, just so they could show the chuds. Or Nick Lowe can show that he could do whatever the hell he wants. I mean, he just turned the Webhead Aficionado newsletter into the Lowdown. The first person he interviewed for that was himself. How big of an ego do you need to be that way?
That's the letters page.
Yeah, or the newsletter.
They're ripping off Wes.
The newsletter page. It has like upcoming events. Like before the fan letters, it has upcoming events. It has upcoming events and interviews with artists and artists and writers. But then he changed it to the Lowdown.
I get it. That's funny.
And the first person he interviewed was himself.
I couldn't do that. I would have Pikachu interview me.
Yeah.
Because intrinsically, it's like the same thing, but it's like but I can respect the bit.
Yeah. But like,
you're real. Trust me.
Shouldn't he have interviewed him? He should have interviewed like someone more meaningful, like John Romita Jr. or maybe even
he'll get
J.M.
there.
Mateus.
I'll talk to Ed McGuinness's art in Eighth Death so far has been really good.
Yeah,
I like it because I don't mind the cartooniness, and it's just Mark Farmer was doing his inking on the few issues he was doing in ASM. He's got a different inker for these issues, and you can feel it. And because it's lighter, it's more jaunty. I like his splash pages because you have to actually, you have to take a moment. In issue 61, you open it up, and there's this mid-air splash page fight with Peter, and you have to you need to take a moment to appreciate the art. You just can't scan it and go to the next page. No, there's shit going on. You see Aunt May's feast money on fire. You see his phone being broken. You see him losing his house keys. So everything he's talking about in the rest of the issue being like, oh, wow, was Aunt May's money? Oh, no, Parker Luck. Oh, no, where's my keys? Oh, shit. Parker Luck.
Yeah.
So I already, I like Kelly's story tonally better than Wells's entire run.
Yeah, and
I tried to like the Wells run. I really did.
Yeah, but we'll see how it goes because Ireland.
When does Justine Ireland take over, and how is it going to suck?
Yeah, it's that next issue. It's going to be next month. It's going to be Justine Ireland, and then the month after, and then it's Joe Kelly, and then Justine Ireland, and then I don't.
Well, I hope she does a good job, man. I mean, look, Gronbeck's been doing a good job. People don't talk about Torin Gronbeck as being a chick and doing a bad job, or like G. Willow Wilson. There are a few of these writers out there.
Yeah, so her But she's going to be doing the books in she's going to be doing the books like in December. She's going to do it in February, and also in January. Like she's going to do one in January, and I think she's going to do another one in February, because they're basically splitting this up, and I think they're getting it ready for the new writer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with Chip Zdarsky leaving Batman, I really hope it's him, because I love Chip Zdarsky's take on Spider-Man, because I like his Peter Parker Spider-Man was good.
He's written Spider-Man before?
Yeah, he's done Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man in 2016. He also did Spider-Man Life Story and What If Spider-Man Spider Shadow. So, and he's done a really great job. I mean, one of the things is that he is a great writer. He knows how Spider-Man would talk, how Spider-Man and how Spider-Man would react, how he gets along, his trials and everything. Like even like he wrote. I
do like the occasional Zdarsky. I'm not saying he's bad. Like I'm reading Public Domain on Image of his. That's fun. I think that's like he can do good. And some of his Batman stuff, I liked some of his outrageous Batman stuff. It's like comics aficionados. I was the one thing I didn't mind him like falling to Earth, and everyone's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that episode.
But it's like, okay, first of all, it's his fantasy. Second of all, this is Bruce Wayne. He's wicked smart. Third of all, he's seen Clark do this so many times. Like, I bet you I can do that. So that's the way. That was my train of thought. Like, I can see Bruce figuring this out. Yeah, and landing wherever he wants to.
Yeah,
it would be easier from up there. It would be.
Yes. So it's like I know you're not that good. I don't think he'll be that good with Batman. But like if you give him a character he could work with, like Spider-Man, then maybe
Zdarsky. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
people love his Daredevil. I mean, I missed his because he had Cicchetto's artwork on that too.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people. I missed that. I mean, I missed Mark Waid did fucking Daredevil with Chris Samney. And that was like a dozen years ago. But that was like the last time I really read Daredevil, because I was coming off of Bendis's. I loved Bendis's Daredevil.
Yeah.
Dude, that stuff was good. That was amazingly good shit.
Yeah.
Especially with Alias
on
Max.
Yeah. And like on back
when Bendis was Bendis.
Yeah. Going back, like if they're going to have Zdarsky on ASM, they better give him like freedom of. They better give him that type of freedom that he can just do what he wants and help the legacy, because what it's kind of like they gave that type of freedom to Zeb Wells, and he completely burned down bridges and pissed on the ashes.
They gave him 60 issues. Okay, I'm only so smart when it comes to comic book news, but correct me if I'm wrong. You might know this because this rings a bell. Like with coming into like Wes's show and stuff. Zeb Wells, I believe, signed a 2-year contract to write a SM. So what he did was, he wrote it, he plotted it, he gave it out, and Marvel gave it to their artists, and they were able to release it every 2 weeks consistently. A $4.99 magazine too. And ASM is still Marvel's flagship title. I asked Yule Carter of Fantastic Comics months ago. I was like, Yule, is this true? He's like, oh yeah. I mean, ASM is Marvel. That's the Marvel magazine. Everything else is,
not this year. This year it started to flounder. It like on August it barely even hit the top. It barely even hit the top 20.
But I mean, being Marvel's flagship, is it
Yeah.
like were there other Marvel books ahead of ASM?
And not well, like there were X-Men. There were some X-Men.
Okay.
Yeah, only X-Men. But like with other with other story the bit breakout hit right now is Ultimate Spider-Man.
Hey, that last issue was amazing. That was really good. And it's just like, oh, I get it. You're writing for the trade. You need these like pauses in your storytelling that but this is, you're still telling it in floppies. I wish the rest of the floppies were as entertaining and satisfying as the big fight between Spider-Man and Mr. Negative.
Yeah, and
That was fun.
yeah, and also his interactions with Mary Jane and Uncle Ben.
Sure. I mean,
Yep.
and like the whole like you want to fool around thing, and he's like, "Yeah, oh shit, I gotta be on that thing." Parker Luck.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
And he's funny, and he was quipping.
yeah,
Then,
and this is the type of relationship I want to see them have again.
but still, I mean, there's like the maker hasn't come back yet. I mean, who is on the like? With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah,
Spider-Man is the most resilient character that I've ever come across in all of these fictions, besides like Odysseus and
Yeah.
and the Iliad and Odyssey. Someone who's resilient, who never got beat by circumstances or life. And we brought this up today on Comics Aficionados because in issue 5 of Uncanny X-Men, apparently Logan has PTSD, and we're also, and me and Doc were like, wait a second, what about his healing factor? Does his healing factor should heal his PTSD as well, because this is imaginary shit. You know, and so wow, it's impossible for Wolverine to get PTSD.
yeah, but
And so it's just like, that's just such bullshit.
I think it's more like a mental. It would be more like a mental thing, kind of like how he lost his memory for God knows how long.
Like all the killing and all the death and rebirth and all
kind of like
horrific things. But it's more of
kind of like in Origins when he sees a traumatic event, his brain will automatically reset to 0.
But yeah, so yeah, PTSD comics. Cool, yeah.
Yeah, so all right, let's go. Let's pull this up. I don't know if you heard of Dragon Age Veilguard, but it's done.
I'm gonna pee real quick. Hold
right.
on. You vamp and tell the story and tell the people about it.
All right. So Dragon Age the Veilguard was one of the great was done by one of the greatest game studios in video game studios, BioWare, and these guys were some of the best storytellers of this generation. But like with so many people, it just got so many people left. The writing ended up getting staler and staler. We ended up having people who were basically openly racist towards white people, but it's like it ended up so the storytelling ended up suffering. So when the Veilguard came out, it was just like so many people have played it. I don't know if you guys ever seen like a Let's Play, but there are so many things like identity politics, such as pronouns, transitions, and everything else in a fantasy game, which doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. But now it's journals are blaming YouTubers for Dragon Age the Veilguard's failure, and this really is something that is really bad. Okay.
I have no idea what you're talking about anyway, because
Okay.
I'm not a gamer.
Yeah, so like Dragon Age of Veilguard had spent 10 years being
In
developed.
development. Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
they got woke.
yeah, they got
Yeah.
they had a great story in development, but then they scrapped it all to basically put in like
Be
things
woke.
like put in things like pronouns, top surgery scars in the character creator, having a mission where you're either decide you're non-binary or trans, and this is a fantasy
And
game.
those are only in a character selector app. Like, I love the ability to customize my avatar
Yeah,
to look exactly like me. Like ever since like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 on the PS2, because you had skater creator.
yeah,
And dude, mine looked just like me. Bald head, earrings. I don't have my earrings anymore, but like
yeah.
I had a goatee, but not the full beard, but like I
Yeah,
look like this. And so my skater, Rev Sully, always looked like me.
But like one of the things is like why are you bringing like things like pronouns and
Well, when do those things come up in gameplay?
let me show you. There's this one.
I mean, I'm just asking
Yeah.
questions, like you said,
Yeah.
like devil's advocate. You know what I mean? And also, because I'm inquisitive, it's like, are these just things that apply to your avatar creator and that menu, or are you dealing with this shit throughout your game life and in the game world and play?
They bring this up. Like they have this one where you're basically doing a mission, and and all of a sudden all of a sudden you go through a cave of self-discovery, but then they're like, choose what you want to be. Do you want to be straight? Do you want to be non-binary? Do you want to be like, what the hell? So like
That sounds a bit like yeah. That's a bit much. That's a bit like,
yeah, and
you
also
could have solved that. You could have solved that in your avatar selection screen, like if toggling, like
yeah, and
what's your preference? Are you gay?
yeah,
Are you gut? Are you butt? Are you straw?
yeah, and there are also these one part. There's also these parts in the game where they're talking, a character who's your companion all of a sudden sits down and she's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm non-binary." What?
That's
obnoxious.
obnoxious.
That came out of nowhere, and it's like, and there was another one where someone was misgendered, where mispronoun, where had their pronouns misgendered because the character referred to her as her, and then they said they, and then she decided to apologize by doing push-ups, like doing push-ups for making a mistake, and it's like, this is
sounds weird.
Yeah,
but these are active. This is what happens when you let activists make choices.
Yeah, and
like this. It's who cares? I could be an activist, but I could also tell a story.
But this is the thing. I think this kind of gameplay, which was described by
Dragonlance,
by another writer, was infantile. Because they said that they seen better writing in a CW melodrama.
You mentioned KOTOR?
Yeah, BioWare did KOTOR. BioWare did KOTOR. They did Mass Effect. They did Baldur's Gate, and they did Dragon Age.
When you free the really pretty Twi'lek slave girl, she asks you a question. That you have a yes or no toggle for? Will there be domestic duties involved? And if you choose yes, that means you're going to be literally raping your slave. Or if you choose no, that's when she becomes your right hand man. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and this was another thing that ended up suffering because of the writing. You can't be a full on bad guy like they did with every other BioWare game. You can't be a full on bad guy while doing the right thing. You're always having to do the right thing. You're always having to do that's not the creative freedom
That's not gameplay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to be the bad guy. You want to make. You want the space to make the simulation to make those choices that you would never make in real life.
Yeah,
I mean that's part of it.
Yeah, and this is why a lot of fans said that why a lot of fans would gave up on Dragon Age, because of the writing, the forced politics, the forced identity politics, and everything. And they were like, I'd rather play the other Dragon Age games and not this one. I don't care what happens to the story. This just doesn't exist in Dragon Age anymore. So yeah, and the people who are most upset about it are gaming journalists, because they were bending over backwards giving this game great reviews that were like, flawless game, a flawless game.
My Pikachu just told me that we don't have a good high opinion of game journos because they're just college graduates and looking for jobs.
Yeah,
and they're not really journalists. It's having an activist blog and pretending it's journalism. That's not healthy. Journalism is a science. Journalism is about I get it. There is a bias when it comes to the publisher itself. That happens. There are very few free presses that are unbiased. Yet the level of activism and one-sidedness and games journalism. I'm not even a gamer, but I know that G4 and Kotaku and IGN. I know that these are punchlines, and young people out of college get paid money to write copy that end up on these web pages. And to be taken seriously too, because you went to college, you went to journalism school, but what journalism are you actually doing? Where is the who, what, when, where, and why, and how?
And all they're doing is complaining.
Those are opinion pieces. I mean, I believe in a newspaper. I believe that the newspaper has to have an op-ed section. That is the last page of the first section. Opinions and an editorial, and that's where those kind of I statements in your paragraphs come from, and that's where you could plainly state your opinion in your column. But everything else has to subscribe to a different standard, the journalism standard: who, what, where, when, why, and how. And it's a science, and it's abused. Yeah. Thank goodness for Elon Musk. God bless you, Elon Musk.
He doesn't mean it, folks. All right, so
I do. He brought Twitter back.
Yeah, so
Twitter. I mean, wow, Twitter.
Yeah, so here's another thing that we just got, that if we're talking about video games, here's another thing. Obsidian Entertainment faces lawsuit after the art director shows off his hiring practice.
What?
And I got this from Smash JT, the art director from.
Oh, he's fighting with Alyssa Mercante.
Yeah.
There is such a brouhaha, and it's been of Olympic proportions. I just wanted an excuse to do the voice. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Smash JT brought this up.
Smash JT is a notable gamer.
Yeah,
and
he's also a
and
great journalist. All right, so let me pull this up. Now let me get it. Let me get it in a bigger image so we can see. So we can all see it.
they can see you, Pika. You're lucky you don't have a Pokemon as your executive producer. Gosh.
Okay.
They're
All right.
demanding.
So a reminder to Black artists out there who are looking for portfolio reviews or job advice. My DMs are open, and you will always have my priority. We got too many crusty white dudes in this field, and please let me help you replace me one day. So I want to go back to living in the woods. And
I like humor, I like irony, and I like nuance. This possesses none.
Yeah. And
wow.
this actually has brought in the old Obsidian, the Obsidian Direct CEO, who left the company because of people like him. And he is saying, if anybody, he just said, if anybody has trouble getting hired from Obsidian, you might want to look into hiring a lawyer. Because that's discrimination hiring. It's illegal.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one thing to, okay, I'm Irish, you're Mexican.
Yeah.
I mean, this is both of our people culturally. No shit out there in TV land. We've been kind of, there has been a bias, and especially in lawmaking and in execution of public stuff. There was something in the past called NINA, No Irish Need Apply. And it was huge in New York City. Here in Boston, where I'm from, this was in the 17 and 1800s, mostly in the 1800s. When you had we had a big Irish immigration.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many poor, willing to work Irish people, Irish men and women, that they literally were taking jobs away from Americans that have been here a lot longer, and they would work for that was the problem. So NINA, it's a sign. Look it up. No Irish need apply. And then and where would America be without our Cheech and Chong humor? Cheech is an American, but he doesn't talk like a Chicano. That's a character. That's what Richard Marion does as a character, is Cheech, but it exists for a reason, because there's nothing more American than Spanish people, than Latinos and Latinas. I'm serious.
Yeah, and this is a problem. I mean, like there are so many artists are being laid off in the video game industry, and some of them are trying to get work. Well, some of them will try to get work, but here's this jackass saying that he doesn't want white people working in his company. So, what are you trying to sell to the people who are being laid off?
I mean, hopefully he doesn't have the leverage in order to really enact that.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, this could be just bluster. It could be just like, white knighting.
Yeah, but he's basically white, so he's basically like one of those self-hating white dudes who were like, I'm the problem, everything, and I'm sorry. It's just it really like It's really hard. I mean, people.
Have you ever met a self-hating Latino?
No.
Exactly.
We're all proud of where we came from.
I love Latino people, man. I love Latinas.
Just
I
don't
love
call
Latinas.
Just don't call us Latinx, and we're fine.
Exactly. Because I made a good joke that all this postmodernism started in France. So couldn't they have started with French instead of like trying to come after Spanish? They're both Romance language. They both have gendered languages. La, el, and la, and just it's the same thing,
There's like this one Mexican term that we have for like the Indian people that they use. I think it's called Xochitl or something like that, and it's because it starts with an X. It's basically Latin grammar. Everything needs to start with an X or after an X. That's why like my sister, her nickname, her name is Xochitl, and that means flower. It's XO, but like with Mexico, it's us saying Mexico because there's an X instead of Mexico. So always has to. It just works as a vowel.
You know who needs a fucking Spider-Man? Mexico City.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be an interesting comic book if you threw like just some effort at this, like have a Latino writer, and you're sure as shit you can get a lot of Latino artists.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look at like Miles Morales. He's half Puerto Rican, right?
Yeah. Didn't he go to Puerto Rico in one of the last run?
The last couple of issues ago, he did. Yeah, it was right after Blood Hunt, so he had to it was a little confusing, but he went to go visit his tia in San Juan or something.
Yeah. So like one of the things, like this is going to be the last thing I'm going to say this about this guy. He's basically
sure you are.
He's basically just throwing a temper tantrum, and this is going to hurt the entire studio because there's hardworking individuals working on this game, and his temper tantrum is basically going to end up hurting the sales of their upcoming game Avowed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't game. I mean, what platform do you use?
I use an Xbox and I use computer, so
okay.
I'll play Steam or Xbox.
Okay. Do you live cast when you play?
No, I'm not angry Canadian. I'm not that technical with my stuff.
Oh, dude, I'm serious. I have a PS4. All I have to do is press a button.
Yeah.
And I can stream. And
yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that just to make content and just to decompress and just to have a hang. I'm thinking about playing Star Wars Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, that's a good game. Not Star Wars Outlaw.
I never finished it. I played the shit out of that.
Yeah, Star Wars Outlaw was terrible. And that's just Ubisoft being Ubisoft. All right, so before we get to our last segment, I want to show off.
Ready?
I want to show off a scene from Space Marine 2, and this basically epitomizes Warhammer. Just let me pull it up. And this basically shows what Warhammer is.
You ever watch X-Files?
Yes, I did. Yeah, okay. My sister was a big fan. Oh. My favorite one was X-Cops, where they had a crossover with cops.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I liked the lone gunman.
Oh, yeah.
they just their fate was so pathetic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they had so many good moments throughout the show. Like they go to the con and he's playing the game. He's playing a tabletop, and he has to leave. And one of the guys playing the game says, "Lord Manhammer, like you're leaving us." It's just
All right. All right. So this
standard. It lies crumpled in the dirt like a rag. Lieutenant, what are your orders? We fight! Brothers, assemble around the standard! Victory or death! Yes, brother. Victory or death! Second company! We hold this ground in the name of the primer! If we die with vengeance on our lips!
We're very morose.
Serious. My leg is gone, brother. Brother, all formation! Back, you treacherous scum! Darius! He has fallen!
See, there's never a civil war. You want one of you gamer people. Because you know how to lay it out to press the fire.
is just peak Warhammer right here.
Oh my goodness. You need more women in this. Seriously. Where's the love? You have no, you're not sharing any power. And you're not saying your other Space Marines, like, you are the bestest Space Marine ever, and you can kill all these bugs.
Or received your message. Brief me.
You can debrief me. I want to be shipping with that one. Sorry, you know, this is what the modern fan wants, right?
No. Well,
innuendo and sexy stuff.
All right. So this is Warhammer TV series. So this is the Warhammer TV series is in jeopardy, mainly because like rumors are having it that Amazon wants to put the like things like pronouns and transgender people or and things like that, like they're what they basically put on their big checklist of what they want in a series. But Henry Cavill is pushing back on them, saying that he wants to keep it authentic to the lore. And this isn't just a Warhammer, a guy who just picked up Warhammer. Henry Cavill
has been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah, he's been a fan since he was 10.
He's like, he is one of us. He's a geek talking geek.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking because he had the same mentality about his portrayal of Gerard of Rivia. And I read those books. I just read those books last year, and I liked them overall. I'm a sucker for a story like that, and I think it kind of fell apart at the end a bit. But damn, those first 4 or 5 books were really tight, man. And I could see why Henry Cavill was displeased with the whole wokeness of their attempted production of the Witcher show. Has the Liam Hemsworth one come out yet?
It's next year.
Fucking A, they shot that 2 years ago.
Yeah. But like right now they want to.
Oh, nobody cares. They're trying to put that to bed.
Yeah, and the Warhammer TV series and the Warhammer movie might be in jeopardy because they're trying to write a script, but like Amazon has their standards and practices, and they want like female space marines, black
Right.
trans people.
Look at what they're doing for the ring, the
Lord of the Rings. Yeah, and it's this is just and Henry Cavill. This is his dream project. He wants to stay authentic to the Warhammer audience, and the Warhammer audience is massive. This isn't the type. This isn't like a type of 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 community where you're like we're gonna like it anyway. But anyway, it's just like really it's we want to see an authentic version of Warhammer, like what I just like what I just showed you, and that's from a video game. They did it because they
From how long ago?
This year. This was
that's cool.
Yeah, that's from
I've
a video.
seen some Warhammer, like CGI stuff.
Yeah.
Like if I know it, yeah. It's just like a couple of years old, and it's like, oh wow, that shit was impressive.
Yeah,
but it's like it's owned by Hasbro now, right?
No, it's still owned by Games Workshop. Hasbro owns Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay, there we go. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, but
so with Games Workshop though, it's not about what the fans want. It's about what the college graduates want. They come out of business schools, from these Ivy League business schools, and they're like, we have to evolve and elevate the iconic brand. We have to make it inclusive. And this is their idea.
But this is the thing. It like that kind of inclusivity will not work in Warhammer because of the way the story, the way is built. I mean, there
it just has to be baked in. I mean,
yeah.
Do you remember the movie Predator 2?
Yes.
1990, dumb sequel to Predator. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But oh my God, Predator 2 is exactly the movie that everyone wants to make today because it's so diverse and nobody gives it's just that's just the way that movie is. You got Danny Glover, Ruben Blades, Maria Conchita Alonso, you got Will Paxton, and like this those are your diverse heroes, and they're going into this battle, and just it's
and this is the thing. Warhammer with the Space Marine 2 was basically poo-pooed on by the gaming journals because there were no female Space Marines. And the main core, the three core characters were a white guy, a black guy, and an Asian guy.
Right.
But that's
and
not
should
that
have
person.
had an Indian guy and
But they didn't.
a Middle Eastern guy.
Yeah, but they're like, how come
Racist.
there are no female Space Marines? Because there are no female Space Marines in the lore. They wouldn't survive the type of surgery to become a Space Marine.
We didn't want to put you at arm, little missy. That's what I would have said.
Yeah, and this is also like
we fight so you don't have to.
Like
whatever happened to the manly answer?
Yeah, they were like, this is like I tried to tell I'm telling my friend this because he's like, I'm a big Warhammer fan, but he's basically getting into the hobby, and like you're looking at it like through a scientific point of lens, but in Warhammer it's still sci-fi, but it's very primitive. They don't have DNA tests anymore. They don't have DNA tests anymore. They basically look at the dangly bits. Hell, AI is outlawed. You basically have to put a computer into a human brain by lobotomizing a person, then they're called servitors. So it like the whole thing is like the type of modernism they want, it won't happen because like that it says so. It says so in the game. The time for discovery and enlightenment is over. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
And to be honest, if you're going to be an activist and intersecting yourself into Warhammer, it might be a flawed idea to begin with, because the whole space, the whole activity of the escapism is to immerse yourself in violence and an unsafe space. And now, if you want to put, I honestly believe, like, if you're one of the few women out there literally actually playing Warhammer, and you want a woman in that armor fighting in that campaign, when you're rolling those dice and you got your action figures or your minis on your map, I mean, yes, why not? Go for it.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
That's
why
homebrew.
not?
Yeah, you could do it on homebrew, but like, don't expect
Well,
it.
I mean, even like, but it's like to bend the entire canon around the ideologies. That's, you're not buying it. You smell right through it.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, like they want to say, oh, we want to expand the audience, but that audience won't buy the miniatures. They won't get into the game. They won't buy the books. They'll just be like, they'll look for something else to complain about. All right. So give us your thought on this. I'm going to go on a break a little bit.
I have to pee anyway.
All right.
So are we wrapping up the episode?
Well, we'll go for the Geek Spotlight after we come back.
Okay, I'll be right back then.
We'll be right back. Okay. Now, for a final segment, we're going to introduce something new. We're going to introduce something called the Geek Spotlight. Now, this is going to be like independent projects that I'm going to spotlight solely as well as soon as he comes back. So we're going to go with the Geek Spot, our final segment called the Geek Spotlight. Now, is there anything like you want to show off?
I have a crowdfunder.
Really? What do we got?
We've got some Cyber Frog.
Oh, yeah. EVS.
We have some EVS, yes.
So
these are not collections. These are technically, okay, let's look. Let's open it up. That's what they're comic books. That's what we do. Okay, this is a comic book. It's got 2 staples. It's 22 pages. It's got huge fucking splash pages. This is written and drawn by Ethan Van Sciver. It's got a nice trade dress. It says issue 1.5 as in convenience, so you know how to read them. And then you also have this issue, it's supplemental, after it's between issues 2 and 3. It's called Heartsick Horror. And it's drawn by E.J. Morges, which is a wonderful thing. And I like this whole narrative conceit about having the number of the year in the background like this. It's like you don't have it as ostentatious as a title card or even as small in the narrative caption. It's part of the whole. It's part of the cohesiveness of this, and just like look at the detail on this opening page. And this isn't even Ethan Van Sciver. This is E.J. Morges, and who does a really great job, because one of my favorite things of being an Ethan Van Sciver fan is the attention to detail, is the fine lines. It's just I'm a big fan of him. I watch his draw streams. Watching him like on Bristol sketch out on and non-photo blue a scene and then just immediately ink it. And it's what I'm in awe of him. All right. I understand kayfabe. I understand the internet drama. I don't care. I'm an Ethan fan, so I watch his show.
So all right. So if any of you guys are interested, look up Ethan Van Sciver on YouTube and look up all caps comic books to pick up Cyberfrog.
Check it out. I mean, I love Cyberfrog. Ethan Van Sciver drew Green Lantern Rebirth and Flash Rebirth with Jeff Johns on DC Comics 20 years ago. And he's a lightning rod for controversy. But I mean, can you separate the art from the artist? Sometimes you can't. Now, I give Ethan a pass, and I was giving Mark Waid a pass, but Mark Waid kind of just went a bit too far.
Yeah.
And Ethan sometimes goes too far, but he still has the pass.
Yeah. All right. So let me go with what I want to show off in the Geek Spotlight.
What are you showing off?
There has been there's a new war game coming out, and this called Trench Crusade, and this game actually went on Kickstarter at the end of October, and in 2 weeks they made over $3 million. And this is such a great game. It was brought by the guy who did Warhammer Fantasy Mordheim and Warhammer 40k 6th edition. So let me show you guys the trailer.
Long ago, during the First Crusade, a heretical band of Templars dared defy the Almighty. Casting aside their sacred vows, they opened a gate of hell at the very heart of Jerusalem. Out poured the legions of the damned, and the world burned. Know then that is the year of our Lord, 1914, and the flames of war still rage. This is...
From the heretical mind of Mike Francina comes a skirmish war game set in a horrifying alternate timeline where the armies of hell clash with the forces of the faithful in a battle to decide the fate of all creation. With rules and lore by the acclaimed Tuomas Pirinen, designer of Mordheim and Warhammer 6th edition, Experience brutal and bloody trench combat in one-off games and narrative campaigns as you take command of any of the 6 different factions in a grim, dark world sculpted by James Sheriff and some of the greatest creative minds in wargaming.
The designs of these miniatures are just awesome.
Trench Crusade. Now on Kickstarter. Join the crusade.
So it's set in World War One.
Yeah, it's an alternate take on World War One.
Okay.
Like, the gates of hell have been opened during the First Crusade, and
in 1088. All
yeah,
right.
and basically all hell has broken loose. Everything. There are 6 factions. One is the 3 are the faithful, and 3 are the forces of hell. And it's just the game just looks incredible. It's not one of those big army war games where you play. It's like a small skirmish like setup, and the art, the miniatures, the story is just awesome. They reached all their milestones. They got 2 writers from the Black Library to write novels for this book, and just keep an eye out for it. Look for it on Kickstarter, even though it just look for it on Kickstarter, and look for it on their homepage for more information. Just keep your ear out open, because this might be one of Warhammer's greatest rivals now. Because right now, people are looking for some people are looking for an alternative of Warhammer after their 10th edition, which mainly focuses on competitive play than casual play. So if you want an alternative of Warhammer, look up Trench Crusade. It just looks so beautiful, and it is completely grimdark. But anyways, that's our show. Way to go. Yeah, we are Geeks Talking Geek, and we will see you. Yeah, we will see you next time. No. Damn it. Don't. Damn it. I keep hitting the wrong string. I keep hitting the wrong.